The letter I'm covering today is one you already know about, and I wasn't sure how to go about this. I was afraid that if I read the letter, I might not want to upload it, and you guys want it. And the reason I might not want to upload it is because I expect it's going to be more of her nonsense. I'm actually going into this blind. I don't know what's in the letter, so you're going to watch me find out. No idea how this is going to turn out. Sarah Boone, Brian Boone, and she gives the case number. I am not seeing a date on this letter. It starts with motion to read letter from respondent and schedule case management hearing. Judge Michael Dean. In all my attempts, 16 plus, to protect myself and help from the still ongoing hate, lies, slander, degradation, cruelty, and active abuse from former husband, in quotation marks, Brian C. Boone, nothing, capitalized, has been improved, made better, corrected, relieved in any way for myself, the respondent, from former husband, the court, or judge. I have tried everything. Wonder what she's tried. And wonder what the alleged abuse is. I have made innumerable requests and sent many letters asking for aid from all, with no success or assistance, listening or care by anyone other than myself to relieve or altogether stop his inappropriateness, bitterness, anger, and wrongdoing. Does anyone else think that maybe Brian might have a reason to be angry? I don't know. I kind of think he might have a reason. Look at the situation that their son has been put in, and had been even before this crime. Lay down, baby. Please see list below of my letters sent to you and court per the Records Management Division of the Clerk of Courts, when for the third time tried getting a copy of my active dissolution of marriage agreement I cannot have because they are wanting payment in order to receive, and I am in jail. Yeah, that's a problem that inmates have commonly. You're in jail, you're not making money if you need to pay for something. I also have no bank account after the one I had was closed after having for 30 years due to non-payment of alimony from former husband and stated in prior letters. Okay. The fact that she had it for 30 years might be relevant if the reason that the account was closed was different. Is the account closed because she couldn't pay maybe the banking fees? And interesting how it's Brian's fault. I'm assuming he's not paying alimony because that issue is in dispute. I'm guessing that. I don't know that. She's in jail. It's not like he has to cover her housing costs. Family law is a flippin' nightmare. It is here, and I'm guessing it's just as bad in the U.S. Or just as, I don't want to say bad, but fraught. I'll put it that way. He might not want to pay alimony if she's in jail for killing somebody. So maybe that's in dispute. But she blames him, his non-payment, instead of putting any blame on herself for causing the end of a man's life. I mean, that's why she's in jail. Okay. But, oh yeah, right, it's Sarah. Nothing is her fault. That's right. Everybody's bad and she's good. Remember that, everybody. She lists all these letters. I'm not reading all these out. She has sent the family court numerous letters, not innumerable like she says, as well as the criminal court. It is appalling how uninterested, uncaring, and nonchalant you and the justice system are about my side in any of this, and will not listen without the right paperwork and attorney knowing I am actively being taken advantage of. I'm going to back up for a second because I forgot to mention something in the last paragraph, which was people aren't acting with care toward her. They don't have to. They can't violate her rights, but she's not owed love. She's not owed that they will personally care. And in this paragraph, she is complaining about how she's not being heard because she doesn't have the right paperwork. Yet, if you look at her letters to the criminal court, all along, she's complaining about how things aren't done properly, how they're not organized. Only she knows how to do it properly. Yet, here she's not. But that's okay for her, just not anybody else. And wrongfully mistreated by former husband Brian C. Boone. You have continuously enabled him and given him a self-appointed right. It's not self-appointed if the court gave it to him. And I'm pretty sure that neither of those things happened anyway in terms of appointing. And understanding to keep doing, saying, and taking everything wrongfully and illegally from me, including and especially the love and respect from my son. It is not okay. This is a tough one. This is the stuff I hate, family court. There is something called parental alienation, and that's a real thing. You'd have to speak with a family lawyer to know where all the parameters are. But this isn't a regular run-of-the-mill, I want you to hate dad or I want you to hate mom. And her case was so wild, and her lies and her antics with her previous letters were so wild that it made news everywhere. That's on her. But what does that do to her child? He's going to be known as, that's the kid whose mother did XYZ. So your mom is in jail now, not convicted yet. And that issue of, why she hasn't had her trial, I mean, some of it is certainly not her fault. I would still argue that some of it is. Anyway, that boy is in a situation. And that ex-husband has to somehow explain. And we also don't know what else has been said. We have some insight into what her behavior is like and how Brian put up with a lot previously for the benefit of the child. So I'm not in a position to comment on what Brian did or didn't do or what's understandable or not, because I don't know what those things are. I don't know the context. I don't know what led up to those things. I do know that previously he went out of his way to help her, and she was not responsible even before the charges. She was not responsible in respect to the child. So is there reason for acrimony here? On his part? Yeah, I think so. We also know about her that she will claim that things are abusive when they're not. It's just that she doesn't like a thing, so therefore it's abusive. That brings up another issue. If she's screaming abuse about everybody, she screamed before that the criminal court judge, Judge Wooten, was corrupt. Then how, after publicly displaying this pattern of behavior, it's not a one-off, it's a pattern, how does anybody believe her if she comes out with a battered spouse defense? How do you even believe it? If everybody's abusive, if she doesn't like what they're doing, or she doesn't get her way. It's not okay. Well, it is sad if there's a breach. It's sad that she lost her child, and I'm going to refrain from all the smart remarks that are popping into my head. Okay, I'm just going to keep going. In quotations, you're a killer. That's why I'm not, brackets, doing anything. Former husband said in front of son on phone. I think the boy knows she's in jail and why she's in jail. No, she has not been convicted, but he's not thinking about that. And people who say things to him are not thinking about the presumption of innocence. And she admitted that she took actions, and those actions ultimately resulted in the loss of life for Mr. Torres. The fact that her actions led to his demise are not in dispute. You're not important to anyone. Former husband, numerous dates. You are not priority. Former husband, numerous dates. You are not a priority. Is it hurtful? Yeah. Could it be mean depending on the context? Yeah. depending on the context. If this was a parent saying this to a child, it would be different, right? But this is her ex-husband, and they were split up before all of this. She was with somebody else. Why would she think for a second that she would be a priority to him? His priority is going to be his son and himself and everybody else in his life. It just shows that her expectation is that she is, or ought to be, the priority. Just like everybody else has cases in front of the courts, the court has to manage its docket, the court has to manage its time, and she's upset when she doesn't get the time she wants to address the court for how long or in what manner she likes. So this is just more of the same. It's sad. She still doesn't get it after all of this. Quote, Dad says you're annoying and beg all the time. Son told me after asking him to ask former husband if he finally ordered a book and hot meal after being made to call daily to check for 13 weeks. Not sure if the hot meal and the book was for the child, although I suspect not. It sounds like it was something she wanted Brian to order for her. In any case, being made to call daily to check for 13 weeks, he made her? Did he tell her, I need you to call and check every day? Is that what happened? Does anyone believe that? Or is she saying that she's being made to call daily because she didn't get what she wanted when she wanted, and so she is going to call every day? And she made that decision, but I'm going to blame my behavior on you. You made me do it, right? So the son says this, well, yeah, she is annoying. And apparently she does beg all the time. Actually, she doesn't beg, she demands. And I'm not saying this based on nothing. I'm saying this based on everything all of us have seen. Right from the get-go, right from the scene. She wants her cigarettes right now. She wants her Dr. Pepper right now. Doesn't matter that it's a crime scene. Doesn't matter that emergency personnel are inside. Doesn't matter that her live-in partner has passed away and is still in there. She wants what she wants when she wants it. Quote, I lie to you because I can. Dad does it all the time. Son, how old's this boy now? I think he's a teenager now. Does that sound like a lot of teenagers? A little bit of snark, a little bit of sass. And oh yeah, well, Dad lies to you too. Haha. And what does she want the judge to do? You make no difference in our lives. Former husband, numerous dates. It's a difficult thing to hear. She, again, is giving us something out of context. She's not telling us what led up to that. She just makes the allegation, and she picks and chooses what bits of truth that she wants to tell. There's a reason why in court they want you to tell the whole truth, because it matters. I don't know what to say. I mean, I don't know what she would want anybody to do. If she wanted to make a difference in their lives, maybe she should do something to make a difference in their lives. You can't beg and demand and complain and then be unhappy at somebody pushing back and saying, look, get lost. Quit begging. You don't make a difference in her lives anyway. She's not there because of her own behavior. Back to the letter. That's okay with you and acceptable, Judge Dean? Is that what you were giving him permission for and to keep doing? And in front of my son? Is she trying to twig the judge's conscience? Because what's here is sort of a veiled accusation, basically. Saying, oh, you gave him permission and you think this is acceptable. It's almost like, you know those posts on social media? Agree with this or it means you hate puppies. This paragraph with this hook in it, with this accusation against the character of the person being spoken to, in this case, Judge Dean. You know what it's like? The online trolls, too. Oh yeah? You believe this? When the person said or did no such thing, and they find themselves either defending or wanting to defend against that, and I'm pretty sure that the judge didn't say, hey, go ahead and abuse people. Actually, I would bet money that the judge did not say that. Why won't you stop any of his abuse? Verbal, mental, and emotional. There are allegations here made without context. Again, it's just, she says, oh, everybody's abusing me. That's who she is. Why is anyone going to listen? And should the judge sit in on all their phone calls? What does she want him to do? Why aren't you, as my judge, doing anything to hear, understand both sides? Again, that's an accusation. It's just veiled as a question. Why aren't you doing this thing that you're supposed to do? You're a judge. You're supposed to listen to both sides, and you're not. That's what it is. It's a veiled accusation. She's trying to goad him into doing something. And if this is how she acts to a judge, how does she act to somebody who has less power? What else needs to be done to me by my former husband in order for you to help me? What does she think the role of the judge is? What else can I do I have not done already for any relief on my side? Stop acting out. Be a good start. Stop enabling. Judicially, you must know this is wrong in how I am being treated. She understands. Judicially, you must know. She knows enough to tell the judge what's right and what's wrong and what he ought to do. But file the right paperwork? Yeah. And the stop enabling and the other language and the you're not doing your job. And you're enabling wrongdoing. Look back at her letters to Judge Boone. It's the same language. It's the same stuff. There's a saying, same crap, different puppy. Although it's the same crap, same puppy. I am told every time when trying to reduce any anguish or mistreatment from former husband and cooperate, trying to help, quote, the judge doesn't care what you write. My son now says the same thing when I correct him on how he is being mean and rude to me. That boy's situation is horrible. He's going to have to somehow deal with this forever. And at each stage of his life, he's going to have to deal with it again. No matter how you cut it, this kid has suffered. And he would have suffered whether she ended up in jail or not. Oh, so that continues. He's not going to do anything for you until your trial is over. And even then, it will still all be in my favor. My other document is ready to go, so I can take the rest. I have an attorney. You deserve nothing. You mean nothing. So it's Brian saying the judge doesn't care what you write. He says you mean nothing. Well, that's really hurtful. But how much is he supposed to give in terms of emotion? He has obligations, but you can't order somebody to give love or care or to proclaim that the other person means something to them. Then former husband gets his precious attorney answer denying allegations. Because I'm telling the truth all the time about his awful lies, and I am right. Judge Dean. So I have to continue taking former husband's abuse, neglect, unlawful actions, cruel comments, and hate until my trial, if it ever happens. However long that will be now, considering my attorney has withdrawn from my case and no date of trial is known or will be for an undetermined amount of time. Back at the beginning when I started the letter, I said there's no date on it. Clearly this is after Bankowitz was gone. So that's after the warning from the judge as well, Judge Boone. That, if she keeps doing this and she keeps having problems with the court-appointed lawyers, he's going to look at it differently and maybe look at it more closely. And I thought, you know what? She's going to love the attorney for a little while, the new criminal attorney, because that's how it goes. It's the idealize and then devalue and discard, right? She was warned. So she's going to have to act out in different ways. The acting out she was doing isn't going to keep working for her, and maybe she's figured that out. She can't help herself. She's going to complain about somebody. That's who she is. She can't help it. Husband's abuse, neglect. They've been split up for a long time. She was living with somebody else. That husband There is no duty upon him to not neglect her. Unlawful actions. If you're going to accuse somebody of a crime, state the crime. Settle the facts. I'm not seeing it, but I'm not a family lawyer. Cruel comments and hate. How much more hate and disrespect will former husband encourage my son to keep lying? And I can't read it. Being mean to me, his mother. Former husband is teaching and reflecting a terrible example. Oh, sorry. I'll start over there. Former husband is teaching and reflecting a terrible example of how women can and should be treated, nonetheless the mother of his child. Look at honey. The equipment you were born with doesn't entitle you to treat people like crap and then demand that they be good to you. I don't like this because it's like pulling the woman card. Yes, it's true. How spouses treat each other does set an example, and it is important. And modeling is a huge part of how kids learn. They did a study now. I don't know if they've done a new one since. It was quite some time ago. Researchers learned that if you're a woman, your risk of suffering IPV increases quite a bit if your husband's or your partner's parent abuse the other, not your parent. Tell me something though. When she's screaming at George, when they're having their fights, when she's drunk, when she doesn't come and pick up her kid when she's supposed to, when she assaults Brian, how is this a good example? How is her behavior any kind of good example? Doesn't matter how bad she is, he shouldn't be bad either. But you know what else is a good example? Standing up for yourself. Saying, you're treating me like crap, so I'm not even going to deal with you. And no, you can't talk to me like that. That is also a good example. This is egregious and wrong. Please read my prior motion for case management hearing I sent 6/28/23 with no response to date. I am requesting again, please to schedule. It is fair, and there are way too many topics to be discussed, including my attorney, to write, and I only have one pen. Necessary, lawful, active, important topics. What is the certified notice of delinquent support filed on 8/3/23? Please grant my motions and schedule my imperative, overdue, owed meeting. Here she uses a word that sums up her attitude toward the world, and that is the word owed. I think she feels owed by everybody. Too many topics to be discussed. Where have we heard this before? She's telling the judge that this meeting is imperative. If it is truly imperative, then the thing will be scheduled. Everyone needs and must have the same understanding now and future. It is fair. What else can I do? What's left? Except for begging, which former husband says I do all the time. What am I doing wrong in order to be treated rightfully, properly, ethically correct in order to finally receive your judicial assistance? This is another veiled accusation. You are unethical. How do you even talk to that? How I am and have been and will be treated by former husband Brian C. Boone is unfair, malicious, and wrong, and should not be anyway allowed to continue. Stop. Please see. Please listen. Please help. Honest to Betsy, I wonder how she managed to get through life as far as she did. Judge Dean, what was the reason for your comment made in your courtroom about former husband violating my constitutional rights? If you're not going to help or uphold said rights and lawfully allow me to use, what's the point? Why do I even have? You know I do, in order for you to remark and see they are being violated. 9/19/22. No idea what was said, but she brings up the highest principles, the Constitution, God. She's used the woman card and teaching your children, and everything is massive. egregious. All. Nothing. Please schedule. It is my right. It is fair. Sincerely, Sarah Boone. Please send a copy of this letter so I know it was received and will serve as my receipt. So that's the letter. And then there was, attached to her letter, there was a letter from Legal Aid Society of Orange County. And it is a letter dated June 29, 2023. The letter is informing her they're not going to give her legal aid for her family court matters. Basically, it's a form letter, and there's a paragraph here, and I'm going to show you the paragraph because there's a part that's underlined. I am guessing that she underlined that. The underlined part says, our decision not to provide legal representation to you does not mean that you do not have a good case or defense. You should be aware that the passage of time might prevent you from pursuing your claim or defense. This is a cover your butt kind of phrase in here. It's not legal advice. It's just a standard denial. And it appears that she has taken this to mean that she has a good case, or she might have a good case, and that time is of the essence. This is the part she underlined. It appears that she's just not getting that this was just a form letter. And it would be in keeping with the rest of her personality. She believes what she wants to believe, and she hears what she wants to hear. That's it for that Boone letter. Stay safe. I'll see you in the comments.